My daughter received an invitation to perform at her cousin's wedding, but later faced online backlash because her performance attracted more attention than that of the bride. My cousin, who is 23, asked my 16-year-old daughter to perform at her wedding reception, but grew resentful when she noticed the positive response to my daughter's act. Since then, she has posted negative comments about her online, leading my daughter to contemplate quitting. I hope sharing this here is acceptable. The reason I'm posting is due to my daughter, who has been feeling hurt following a recent performance. I apologize in advance for the length of this post, but any advice from fellow aerialists would be greatly appreciated. My cousin, Dana, not her real name, had her wedding 2 weeks ago and requested that my daughter, Jane, also a fake name, perform at her reception. Jane has been practicing silks for a few years at a local circus studio and has performed at various small gigs through the studio. She aspires to continue this into adulthood as a professional teacher, but this incident has shaken her confidence. Jane keeps a private Instagram to document her progress and performances, and I share only select performances on my Facebook, including her first gig with the studio and her initial recital. We were proud when some relatives saw her performances through my social media and watched her at her studio's Christmas recital when we hosted Christmas at our home a few years back. It surprised her when they visited early to see her. She loved how they coordinated that, and Jane mentioned it was her loudest cheering section. Dana was among the relatives who came early to witness Jane's Christmas recital, and she has always been very supportive. She asked if Jane would be willing to perform at the reception, and I asked on her behalf. Jane felt honored and excited when I did, and we already had a portable rig for her, though we ultimately rented a taller one from her studio. Dana got the idea from a YouTube video showcasing an aerialist performing at a wedding reception and showed us while requesting white silks and a white outfit. We scouted the venue and purchased white silks along with a white costume that Dana approved of, which made Jane really excited. Jane even worked on choreography to a song that Dana requested, dedicating a lot of time to it and even asking one of her coaches for assistance. Despite Jane not expecting to be paid, Dana insisted on compensating her for the gig and paid her a few $100s. However, Dana later had a change of heart. Jane received a standing ovation after her performance, which surprised her, but we were unaware of any issues until Dana posted on Facebook a few days later. Dana claimed she disapproved of Jane's outfit, stating she specifically told her not to wear white. She also accused my husband and me of pressuring her to have Jane perform, suggesting that the performance gave off an unclassy vibe, lies that my husband and I found unbelievable. We sent Dana numerous costume links and we purchased the one she liked. Jane's performance was flawless, and Dana was among those cheering afterward. Jane received nothing but compliments, but I'm appalled that she had to see that post after all the effort she put in. The post also had comments disabled. For what it's worth, I called Dana to confront her about the lies, but she didn't answer my numerous calls. I then reached out to her parents who, like us, had received messages about her post. They agreed that Dana was wrong, apologized on her behalf, and expressed their disgust. Dana's mom mentioned that Dana vented to her before making the post a few days after the reception, expressing regret about asking Jane to perform due to the attention and compliments Jane received. Her mom also shared that Dana felt upstaged by Jane wearing white and hearing how talented she was. Dana's parents attempted to call her after the post, but she didn't answer. Their previous conversation ended with them advising her not to be bitter, since she specifically requested Jane to perform. Dana's parents reported the post along with us and others, and we shared the truth with those who reached out, including a post to explain our side and stand up for Jane. We have text proof of sending costume links that Dana chose. Dana's parents also wanted to speak to Jane on the phone to apologize for Dana's behavior. My husband and I reassured Jane that Dana was in the wrong and that we would be distancing ourselves from her permanently. Dana's parents were taken aback by her behavior, and so were we, having witnessed her grow up. Granted, we only see extended family during Thanksgiving and Christmas due to distance, but other relatives were also surprised as it seemed to come out of nowhere. Perhaps there's a side to Dana we'll never understand from our limited holiday interactions, but our focus is on Jane. We've tried to lift Jane's spirits by offering to take her to dinner and engaging in other activities, but she's been struggling, which is why I'm here. Jane hasn't practiced at home or the studio since the reception, and I don't want to invade her space at the studio by asking or telling anyone there in case she doesn't want anyone to know. She asked me to return the white silks and costume after being so excited to receive them. She also mentioned taking an extended break from aerial photography to reconsider if she wants to continue. In addition to aerial photography, she's also distancing herself from non-aerial friends, choosing to keep to herself. We would appreciate any advice from fellow aerialists on how to uplift her spirits. We remind her of how proud we are of her and the many compliments she received, but she has requested space and to avoid discussing it. We will respect that and allow time to heal, but we'll consider any advice from others who can relate to the time and effort she invested. I apologize for the length of this, but we value anyone who reads and takes the time to respond. Comments from the original post note that this is a rare story where everyone except the villain acts appropriately. If this had happened to an adult, or even an older teenager, they might still feel hurt, but would likely recognize that Dana is the one with the issue. However, at 16, Jane is still forming her self-identity and appears to be taking this all as a reflection of herself. I'm not someone who thrives in the spotlight. My desire to perform has caused pain for my family. I would seriously consider therapy. You could say all the right things to her, and I bet you have, but at 16, it's difficult to hear your mom's perspective. I'm sorry to suggest this, but is it possible that Dana's new husband gave Jane any inappropriate attention that could explain Dana's upset feelings? She should have known what to expect, but that wouldn't excuse it. If there were any opportunities for Jane and the new husband to be alone, I would seriously look into that, as it might explain why Jane hasn't practiced since the reception, despite the drama starting a few days later. This may be extreme, but I would ask yourself if there was a chance for him to behave inappropriately, especially since she is withdrawing from her entire social life. As a teenager, driving to the next city sometimes helped me when I felt stuck. Perhaps a drive to a big aquarium or an outlet mall could provide a random escape, allowing her to open up or simply enjoy a nice day. Sending lots of love to you and your family. Jealousy is terrible, and Dana has only made herself look bad to anyone who attended the wedding. For reference, I have performed at multiple weddings and have always worn a white costume. It fits the theme and is in no way comparable to a wedding dress. I often see aerialists in white at weddings. Take comfort in the internet, and hopefully it can serve as a defense against Dana. If she chooses to act that way, just post the receipts of how she asked about the outfit, etc. If she's willing to say that to a 16-year-old or let it go, it will pass. I promise Dana will soon have some new crazy thing to focus on. These types always do. The bride is petty, immature, and ridiculous. First off, you must recognize that and help her see it too if she doesn't already. When people show you who they are, listen. This is a painful but valuable lesson that your daughter is learning very early in her performance career. Just like any obstacle or difficulty in life, she has the choice to let it defeat her or to rise above it and become more determined than ever. If she truly wants this and eventually becomes an aerial coach or performer, she will face even more challenges. And this experience is merely preparing her for that. Creating art is a vulnerable process. Sometimes people won't appreciate it, but that reflects more about them than about you. Dana wanted her wedding to be all about her, which is fair to an extent, but not to this degree. She was happy to have a beautiful performance for her, but forgot that people would congratulate the performer rather than the person who hired them. Given the extreme response, I would be a bit concerned about the possibility that Dana's husband might have made an inappropriate comment to Jane during the reception, which could explain her shutting down and not wanting to socialize or practice. A few days before Dana's post, my husband decided to ask her, and Jane said no. If something did happen, she might feel more comfortable discussing it with a therapist in time. On the bright side, Jane mentioned she might want to try a different aerial studio because she doesn't want to answer questions about how the performance went or share a video at her home studio. We hope she doesn't leave her current studio permanently, as she has supportive friends and coaches, and she performs with that studio's troupe at festivals and gigs. However, I understand the need to sometimes go somewhere unknown for a break, and we hope that helps her. She hasn't made a definite decision yet, but if she does, we'll support her. She still wants an extended break from aerial photography in the meantime. But even when she returns, she mentioned she might never want to perform again and would prefer to do it leisurely. If she decides to stop performing with her troupe, we'll respect that and inform her coach accordingly if it comes to that. Hopefully, time will heal this wound and allow her to maintain the friendship she has there, but we can only hope. Comments from the update. I'm so glad that you and the rest of your family are supporting Jane as much as possible. Hopefully, the backing you provide now will eventually overshadow Dana's hateful behavior. I also hope Dana seeks therapy, because targeting a minor like that is entirely out of line. Perhaps a suggestion from her own mom will prompt Dana to reevaluate and make some changes. Regardless, it seems you're doing a fantastic job parenting. I'm so sorry this happened, but the best thing you can do is continue to show Jane that you support her, and it's her choice what to pursue from here. We would be happy to welcome her back whenever she decides to return to the aerial community. I can see the positives that have emerged since the last post. Thank you for the update. I've been thinking of all of you. It sounds like Jane is still blaming herself, and that mindset needs addressing, as it could spill over into other areas of her life, hindering her potential. She needs to realize that this is jealousy from the bride directed at her, and it has nothing to do with her. If an aunt had received that attention, it too would have been squashed. Perhaps having her perform is fine, just not at family weddings again. Please ask her again in a few weeks if any inappropriate comments were made. Sometimes it takes time to feel comfortable enough to voice such things. It's not uncommon for people to take decades before speaking up. I believe her coach should know that while the performance was amazing, there were repercussions afterward. They don't need to know the details, but it will help explain her actions and ease her path back. Please give her a big hug from me. Now, on to the next story. I child-proofed for my in-laws visit, but my husband thought I was overreacting. Now he's gone further after day one with our nephew. Original post: I am a 26-year-old female, and my husband is a 29-year-old male. We have been married for 5 years and traveled to Berlin right after our wedding, as we both found well-paying jobs. Meanwhile, our families, parents, siblings, etc., still live in Greece, and we usually visit occasionally. My husband and I don't have children and don't plan to have any. We enjoy buying expensive items and experiencing things we missed as kids, like nice furniture for our home, dining at exotic restaurants with friends, traveling, and generally living our lives together just as we are. However, my husband's family is very traditional, and every married couple is expected to have at least one child. This time, my husband invited my brother-in-law and a sister-in-law to visit us with their 3-year-old son for 2 weeks. This would be their first trip with their son and our first time hosting our nephew at our home. Our nephew is known for going through the terrible twos, throwing tantrums and breaking things lately, so I did some childproofing in our home a day before my in-laws were set to arrive. I removed all glass and ceramic decor, swapped our linen tablecloth for a plastic one, locked up our alcohol, and covered our sofas with a plush fabric cover. Our sofas are white cashmere, and since my nephew likes to snack while watching TV, we can always take it outside and dust off the crumbs. I also adjusted my maid's schedule to come in 5 days a week instead of 3 to help prepare breakfast and keep the house tidy. However, when my husband saw the changes I made, he became upset. He told me he felt I was preparing our home as if we were hosting messy and uncivilized people, and questioned why I didn't make these changes when our friends in Berlin, who have kids, come over for dinner. He also mentioned that he had never seen our friends make such changes in their homes for their children. I don't understand this comparison at all. Hosting friends for a 3-hour dinner is very different from having them stay for a couple of weeks. We've visited our in-laws enough to know how chaotic their home can get, to the point where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law mostly keep plastic items in their homes for convenience. Update 1. We hadn't spoken since our fight last night, and my in-laws are supposed to land in the morning. My husband brought food from a restaurant I like and told me he wanted to apologize. He admitted he overreacted because he hadn't acknowledged how different his brother has become since becoming a dad, leading to more financial hardships, which makes him feel angry and helpless. He misdirected his frustration at me and appreciated what I did, especially since he's more finicky than I am. I tried to reassure him not to feel guilty or responsible for the lives and choices of other adults, but I'm relieved he came around on his own. Update 2. So it's officially day 1 of the in-laws visit, and my husband has taken it a step further by putting away most of the lamps in our house, since they are glass and dangerous for a toddler. We have about 35 lamps as we dislike ceiling lights. When we picked up my in-laws from the airport and were driving them back, my nephew accidentally spilled a bag of chips all over the back seat and floor mats. Everyone just laughed, but I could tell my husband was horrified inside and has been vacuuming the backseat area for 2 hours now. LOL. Oh, and the in-laws really appreciated our baby proofing. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.